Hi, welcome to Nanny's Country Treasures. If you're new, I'm Joanna, and I'm glad you're here. I like to make home decor on a budget. This is another one of my I love fall most of all, and time is winding down, so let's get started. Alright, I have been wanting to do this bad boy for a while now, and I could not find a sweater. I've had the pumpkin wreath form from the Dollar Tree since the beginning, when they started putting stuff out. But I finally got my hands on a sweater. So I'm just going to cut the side of this sweater and then cut the back out. And no, this is not a good sweater, but, well, you know what? Even if it was, it's my sweater. I can do what I want to with it. No offense to anybody. But anyway, it wasn't. It had stains on it one side. But anyway, so I'm just cutting this out. Here we go. I don't know what I was doing. Oh, my scissors won't cut. They're, anyway, we ain't going to talk about that. My good one's over at my fabric table. Finally got it cut. And I am going to, this is going to be pretty, y'all. I know it will. Okay, so I wanted to hold this here. And I remembered that I had those little pink clips from the Dollar Tree. So I opened my drawer beside me and grabbed a few of them. And this worked out perfect to hold this on there because I don't need an excessive amount of the sweater. I just know that I wanted to cut it bigger so that I could trim it down. I laid this down and then I was just going to cut it, and I thought I better mark it. So I kind of stretch it out, and then I'm going to put a mark where I'm going to cut, and then I'm going to trim this off. Y'all want to know something funny? I did this whole stinking voiceover segment, and when I played it back, I realized I didn't have my mic on. I sounded like I was in a tunnel 100 miles away, so I had to redo it. Real life, it happens, y'all. Just wanted y'all to know. Anyways, I'm going to make sure that I have enough, and then I am going to, all this excess is going to be trimmed off, because you'll be able to see this from the front of the pumpkin. So I'm trimming some of it off now, and I trim it a little bit later. But anyways, I'm just going to trim this out around this pumpkin a little bit. I don't want to cut a lot because I don't know how much I'm going to stretch it, So anyways, now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take a line of glue. This is just Gorilla Hot Glue. I'm not using the fabric glue sticks. This is just my Gorilla Hot Glue. It works just fine. And I went all the way around and secured that pumpkin and trimmed any excess. Now I am just going to take my glue gun, and this is putting glue. You may not see it, but it is. And I am going to push that sweater to the pumpkin form. Just smooth it all out. And there it is. Okay, now I'm going to take this jute that I got at Walmart. I buy this in the flower section, or they do have some in the jewelry section too, but I think I buy this from the flower section at Walmart, and it lasts me like forever. So I just tied it on to that wreath form, and then I glued a little bit to tack it down, and I'm just going to wrap it around the stem and glue when it's needed. Now here at the end, you'll see me really adding the glue because if you don't, it will pop off. So you just want to add a little bit of glue and keep wrapping until you cover that, all that metal stem there. Now I'm going to take a piece of my jute scraps and tie a knot to make a little thing there to hang it up, and I just run it through itself so that I can hang it. I'm trying to end up with the knot on the bottom, but I can't, so it's just on there. I put my jute scraps in this little bowl that I got from the Dollar Tree, and it holds all my jute scraps, and that's awesome for when you need little pieces like this right here. Okay, now I have this piece of burlap that I cut from burlap scraps, and it don't look straight, but I promise it is. I cut it with a rotary cutter and a ruler. And I leave it in the spot that it's at because I want it to stay right there. And so you see me peeling it back and adding my glue just to secure this down. It doesn't take a lot to tack this fabric to this fabric. But anyways, I'm just tacking this down. And on my way down, I pulled it down. So I actually made it crooked. Excuse me. Now I want to put the Thankful on, and I'm going to use glue. Hot glue. You have to work fast because it's metal, and the metal gets cold and it will not stick. If it comes off, or an option you can do is take some silver or gray thread and go from the back and tack it down in some of the skinnier places, you know. But I think this is going to work just fine. So now I want to add a big, beautiful bow. And this ribbon came from the Dollar Tree. And I am going to just, it takes the whole roll, as big as this bow is. But it's about I don't know. I just fold it over so it looks good to me. But anyways, I didn't measure this one. I'm sorry, y'all. I'm just going to fold over and fold over and fold over until I'm at the end of my ribbon, and it actually came out perfect, the size that I did this. So, anyways, I'm going to, almost forgot, but I'm going to fold it in the middle and find my middle, and I'm going to cut notches. Now, when you cut these notches, the notches are to help stabilize when you're pulling your bow, so you don't pull your loops too big and have it all wonky. But you really don't want to cut but just a little slit. And this is to hold your wire, your chenille stem, or a zip tie. So to attach this one, I'm going to put my zip tie in the slits, but I am not going to pull it. And I am going to run it through the front and over the wire, one on one side, one on the other, and zip tie this to the pumpkin frame itself. That way I know it ain't going nowhere. And then I tack this down because I really didn't want it sticking out back there. Make sure when you put your zip tie on that you got your hanging loop out. And now I'm just going to fluff my bow out. And that bottom one had me confused for a minute, but it was right to begin with, and I gotta put it back because now it wasn't right. Anyway, I'm just fluffing this one out, and I thought it looked a little lonely. So I grabbed some more ribbon because this is, going to be with my theme. So I have pumpkins and sunflowers. So I grabbed my sunflower ribbon, and I'm just going to make a couple of loops. And I want this one smaller than the first one. Just a little bit smaller. And then I'm going to do the same process with the bow, except I am going to use jute to tie around this one. And that just makes it look a little more high-end and finished rather than using a plastic zip tie. And then I'm just going to tie the jute in the back to secure it. And then I'll cut those strings off once I tie it. I think I tied this 3 times. I wanted to make sure it wasn't going anywhere. So then I'm going to take a lot of hot glue just to make sure that it doesn't fall off. And there is my beautiful pumpkin, and I'll have more pictures or a video at the end. Now I am just going to take one of these little styrofoam pumpkins from the Dollar Tree, and I am going to use this shawl thing that I had, and I thought it was perfect. I don't have to paint this, but I am going to flip it upside down because I want the indentation on the bottom, and I'll show you why in a minute. But I'm just going to shove this pumpkin through the arm or the shirt sleeve, the arm sleeve, whatever you want to call it, of this little sweater cardigan thing. And it fits perfect. I didn't have to paint it because it's orange. And I'm going to take this thread and I'm going to run it through and then run the thread through the loop of the double thread to make a knot. That way I know it's secure and it won't come out. Then I'm just going to take and run the needle around the hem of the arm. It's already there for you. All you have to do is run your needle through the arm of that cardigan. Now once you have it all the way through, you're going to pull tight and pinch and then run your needle through there, run it through the thread and knot this real good. You do not want this coming apart. So I put several knots in there and pull tight, and it is secure. And then I just snip my thread, and there's that part. Now I'm going to take and cut the sleeve off, but there's what it looks like. Sorry, wasn't really in camera. Now I'm going to take and cut the sleeve off because I'm going to poke it down in the middle, but I got to cut a hole in it first. So I'm going to take a knife. I should have used an X-Acto blade because this thing is just like puncturing this pumpkin. But anyways, I get the job done anyway. So there's my hole in the middle, and I'm just going to take and shove this right in the middle all the way around. This is so easy. I'm sure you've seen people do these before, but maybe not with a shirt sleeve. But now I've got it down in there, and I don't even have to glue it. It is secure. It is good. And I'm going to put the stem that I made on there. But first, I want to embellish it. So now I'm going to take these pip berries, and I'm sure I got them at the Dollar Tree in the fall. They may have been in the spring stuff, but anyways, I'm just going to take some of these pip berries, and I like the fact that they were green and white and not orange. That way they don't blend in with the pumpkin, you know. But I cut the end off, and then I'm just going to start wrapping it around a pencil to make the curls, just to make this look a little cute. You know, I'm going to leave a space, and I was going to twirl it, but then I decided to cut it off. So I'm going to twirl this other side around the pencil as well. But I'm going to leave the middle because I'm going to bend it and shove it down in this pumpkin. You'll see how I bend it in a second. I just used hot glue and poked it down in there, and I was going to put the stem on, and then I wanted to put a leaf on it. And this came off of a pumpkin bush that I had been crafting with before, and I just pulled a leaf off, stuck it down in there, and now I am just putting glue on the stem and popping that right on the top of that pumpkin, and this project is finished. So now I have this picture in this frame. I really wanted the frame, not so much the picture, but I love the frame. This came from the Dollar Tree. And I'm going to pop this styrofoam or foam, it's foam, flower off. And I was going to use the back, but it had that, you know, the hangy thingy on it right there. So I didn't want to do that. So I use a heat gun and I remove this, the rest of the foam and this glue that is stuck to this board. Now that the glue is gone, I am taking my hand sander and I'm just sanding this to make sure it's smooth because I want to use this front side. Now, I don't really want to paint it. So, I am going to my cardstock, and these are comic book boards. I used to have my fabric on these. And I cut the side off, and it has a gap at the top, but this works great. It doesn't matter. You don't see the top, so it all works out. So I'm going to take this board and I want to hold it right where it's at. I don't want it to move because there is a gap at the bottom, but the bigger gap is at the top. So I'm just going to take my glue stick and I am going to glue this comic board on to the other piece of cardboard stuff and let that dry while I move on and work with this pumpkin. I just put clips on here and let it dry. So now I'm going to take this pumpkin. I thought it was pretty with the things cut out. It was one of those sides to one of those little, I don't know, flower boxes or whatever they are. There was 2 to each side. And I just pulled it apart and I'm going to use it in another DIY. I'm going to take my orange chalk paint and I'm going to give this 1 coat of paint was all it needed. And it's painted. And I'm just going to take my sander, my hand sander, and I'm going to sand around this pumpkin to make it look worn, of course. And then I am going to take that Tim Holtz ink, Distress Oxide ink up there you see. And it's the color Gathered Twig. And I'm just going to get my brush, a stiff brush, and get some ink on that brush, and I'm going to give my little pumpkin a little color and a little character. And here it is after I got done playing with it, and I am just going to take this Dollar Tree jute. It's thinner, so I wanted to use it for the little pumpkin, and I'm just going to put a dab of glue, and then I'm going to start winding and cover my stem, but I started at the top of this one first because I thought it was easier to get that top covered. Now when I get it down as far as I want it, I'm just going to take a little glue and secure it back there and trim it off. I took my hand sander and sanded around the edges a bit more to take some of that color off and lighten some of that brown. I went all right over it. Now I'm going to take my decal that I cut out with my Silhouette Cameo because my handwriting stinks, and I am going to place this. I tried to get it in the middle, but I was off a little bit when I actually put it down, but I fix it, and it's kind of a good thing that I did it. But anyway, watch. This is so easy, y'all. This is the duck contact paper that I always use. I didn't even have to burnish that down. It automatically stuck, and then I just push down and peel back. This came off easier than most things that I do, and I was tickled. But anyway, I love that stuff. I cannot express that enough. But anyway, now I'm just going to take this and I'm going to place it back in the frame and secure it down. Now I want my pumpkin right here, and I do get it in the middle. But anyways, I'm just going to add hot glue all over it and then push it down in, and I'm putting it all the way on the bottom. And I'm just putting that in the center. And I kind of wanted it clean like this, but then like I said, I got my writing a little over too far. So I just made a raffia bow, and I am going to stick it on here. And that way it helps so much with the off-centeredness of the writing. I'm having a moment. Bear with me. And this one is done. And I love it. Despite it's a little crooked, it's mine and I love it. It came out great. Now for this project, I'm going to be using these napkins I got at Hobby Lobby. And I waited till they were 50% off because these things are $4.99 and I wasn't about that. Then that was the other side of the pumpkin that I had earlier. I've got scrapbook paper from Hobby Lobby. This pumpkin that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to use my my heat gun, and I am going to pull all this mumbo jumbo off. Then once I get it off and sanded down, I'm going to take the scrapbook paper and I'm going to put it over this pumpkin to cover up that J. I'm going to use a glue stick. And these aren't just any glue sticks. This is a permanent glue stick. Okay, I have it linked in my description. I have never had any problems with these glue sticks peeling up or anything like that. These are awesome. This is an awesome glue stick right here. I've never seen a glue stick like it. It's not like your typical glue sticks from the Dollar Tree or anywhere else. But anyway, I'm just going to set my scrapbook paper, and it barely fits, but it does work. And I thought I missed, but I got it all on there, and I'm going to squeegee the glue out, the excess glue. I always do this and just run something over it to smush out any glue so I have no lumps, bumps, or creases. Then I'm going to turn it over, and I am going to take my knife and I'm just going to cut along around this pumpkin and remove all of the excess paper. Any paper that was still on there, I sanded with a sander. Now I'm going to take my napkins, and a lot of people say do not do this with a glue stick, but I am going to because I always do. So what I'm going to do is I want 1 ply of this napkin is all I need, and I'm going to put it on this pumpkin. So I'm just going to put my glue stick on my pumpkin, and I am going to put this napkin over this very carefully. You usually only have 1 shot because if you try to pull it up, it rips your napkin if they're real thin. I missed on this one and I was able to get it up. Yay me. So I put it back down and I got it. It seemed like it wasn't sticking in some spots, so especially on that side. So I pull it up and I add more glue and stick it back down. See me do that right here. Then when I have it down, I pick the pumpkin up and I kind of fussy cut or whatever you call it all the way around just to get the excess napkin off, but not all of it. You'll see. I just go around it because I'm going to take my little yellow finger sander and sand the excess paper off, going in a downward motion. Now it's on there and it is smooth and I want it to look old. And so I am going to take matte Mod Podge and I'm going to put matte Mod Podge on it, and I'm going to spread this Mod Podge out. And what it's going to do is it should bubble up my napkin is what it should do. And then I can smooth it out and it will get wrinkles and creases in there and make it look more of an aged or a textured look to the pumpkin that I was wanting to do. So let's see. Okay, let's look at this. I used my heat gun and it did it. And I was so excited. It looked so good. Now I'm going to take this brown, it's dark brown paint, and I'm just using a little bit, and I'm going to take a brush and I'm just going to paint the stems of both pumpkins. Okay, now the stems are painted, and I am just going to take this little pumpkin and I'm going to put hot glue on it and stick it to the front of my big pumpkin, just like this. And that is cute already. But I'm not going to leave it alone. So I'm going to take my Distress ink in, almost positive this is espresso because I really love this one. And I'm just going to make my, my little things where my pumpkin would have them, give it definition. My brain knows what it's trying to say, I think, but my mouth ain't working. My mouth wants to work and my brain ain't. I don't know. I'm dysfunctional, I think. But anyways, you see what I'm doing, so that helps you out, especially if you're a visual like me. But I'm trying, y'all. It's late. But anyway, I'm either early or I'm late. I babysit my granddaughter during the day, so I can't do anything with a little 15-month-old toddler, or 16 months now. So, you just got to work when you can. So, you see what I'm doing, and this is all I'm going to do with that. And now I'm just going to run a sander over it and sand some of that ink off and distress the pumpkin just a little bit. So now I'm going to add a bow, and I want this on to match all my stuff, So I am going to figure out how big I want it. This is how I'm going to do this bow. I slowed it down to show you how I'm going to do this. I'll do it this way, and then just fold it around. You need a pretty good amount of ribbon, and then fold this over. Now I'm going to take it apart and show you one more time. So what you're going to do is you're going to make like a cancer awareness type deal, and then pull the middle to you. Make sure your loops are as big as you want them and even as you can, and that's the way I want it. So then you're going to take your ribbon and you're going to run it behind itself and over, and that gives you 2 loops on each side and 2 tails going down. I hope that made sense. And then all you're going to do is pinch it in the middle, and your bow is ready. Now I'm going to cut the end off, as even with the other end as I can. And then I am not going to use a zip tie this time. Haha, I remembered a zip tie. I am actually going to take my dental floss, and I am going to go in and out this bow and scrunch it up in the middle like I do my hair bows, because I believe this will make it poofier. Matter of fact, I know it will make it poofier and look a whole lot better. So, anyways, there it is. It's so pretty. I'm just going to run this around, and then I'm going to tie it off in the back, and that part is done. Now I'm going to take my ends, and I'm going to fold them over and cut my little notch out to dovetail my ends. That makes it look more high-end and finished. And I am going to take this truck ribbon that I got at the Dollar Tree. That sunflower ribbon, I'm almost positive I got it at Hobby Lobby. That's usually the only place I go to get ribbon, is Hobby Lobby or the Dollar Tree. So anyways, I'm just going to take this one, and I'm going to make a little loopy bow just by going over and over to make my little loops on the side. I just checking there to make sure that I had my tail hanging down as long as I wanted it. So I'm just going to continue to loop it over on itself until I get the loops that I want. And that looked pretty good to me, I guess. So I cut it off. Me doing these voiceovers, y'all. So I'm going to take my dental floss, and I'm going to go around, and I am going to tie that off, and there's that bow. Now on this one, I am not dovetailing this little skinny ribbon. I'm just going to cut it at an angle. And I'm going to place a little hot glue on the back to stick it down. And then I'm going to take this twine, and I'm going to wrap it around and around and around to give it a middle to make it look more finished. Tie it off in the back, Add a butt ton of hot glue to the back and glue it down. I gave it a little fluffing, and I am in love with this bow. I think I love the bow more than I love the whole thing, to be honest with you. But I do love the whole thing. But that bow, y'all, wow. So anyways, I'm just going to add a jute string to the back so it can hang. And this is actually going in my kitchen above my sink. And it's just, I love it. I love it. Look how pretty. This is so super simple, like for real. I wanted some things to put my forks and stuff in when we have our dinner. And so I had these buckets, and then I had these window clings left. And I am just sticking these window clings to this bucket. No need to put anything on them. They stick and they're removable, so you could use them for any holiday or another DIY if you choose to, you know, whatever you want to do. But this is such a neat idea, and it is really, really cute, you know, to use. It's going to be so cute on my table for Thanksgiving when my family's here with my stuff in it. And unless they watch this video, they would not know that this was a window cling DIY. How awesome is that? Now, I didn't make you watch me put all those window clings on, but here are my projects, and they are so pretty. Once again, thank you for watching. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you don't mind, subscribe to my channel and become part of my YouTube family. And ring that bell to be notified every time I upload a video. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. And remember, you are a blessing.